Disclaimer, I'm not trying to convince anyone to stop running normally with two hands. The point of this video is to give an insight on what goes on during my one-handed runs for the people interested. With ESA 2018 right around the corner, and yours truly having a one-handed jack run-in, questions I often get asked are, how do you do that? Isn't that really difficult? And quite blatantly, why do you do this? I hope to answer all of these questions in this video, as well as show you what really goes into one-handed runs of Jack 1. First off, I want to address the grip I have on the controller, as that seems to cause a lot of confusion. I'm a right-handed person and would normally avoid using my left hand for anything, but in this rare case my right hand would be useless, and here's why. The left stick movement is identical to two-handed runs. Just as I would move the left stick with my left thumb in two-handed runs, I move it in the same exact way. There's no real additional difficulty to simple stick movement, it's just a question of getting used to it. The grip I use is quite frankly the only grip that I feel like would ever properly work. You can of course try for yourself and run with what you prefer, but this is what I highly recommend. I seriously recommend using L1 to roll and using your pinky finger to do so. It's the only finger I noticed was getting tired at first, but after a few runs it got used to it. My ring finger never actually presses a button. The only job it has is to hold the controller stable just by leaning against it, but it rarely even has to do that. I use the middle finger for a total of 4 buttons in different cases, but I'll talk about 2 of them now. The buttons it'll always be ready to press are square and triangle. Square of course for punching, and triangle for zooming in the rare cases it's needed. The index finger is the busiest one. It presses X for jumping and menu selections, circle for spinning and interaction, and possibly the hardest part about one-handed runs, it controls the camera with the right stick. That one takes time to get used to, but it's absolutely necessary for a lot of tricks and general movement. Turning the camera usually happens around air time, or whenever you don't have to press any other button. This gets more optimized the more you play, simply because you get more used to it and more comfortable with it. The thumb, as previously mentioned, uses the left stick. This is the grip I use for movement. Now let's get into other cases. The pause menu is something that's a lot more awkward to use than you'd first think. For save loading and using the menu to load in general, I use my middle finger to press the start button. I hit circle with my index finger as I would normally. The way I use the D-pad is by straightening out my pinky and using my wrist to hit the buttons with up and down movement. This allows me to keep my index finger on the X button so that I can select whichever option I wish. Pause buffering is something that really surprised me when I first started running one-handed. The reason it surprised me is because it's insanely hard. You may think I'm joking, but no. Well, maybe not the pause buffering itself, but as necessary in a lot of cases in the run, going from pause buffering into movement in rapid succession. The reason for that is that there isn't really a proper way to pause buffer with the normal movement grip that isn't incredibly uncomfortable and tricky. The way I pause buffer is by moving my hand way over the controller so that my middle finger is on R2 and my thumb is on the start button. After a successful pause buffer, I very quickly return my hand into the neutral position. This takes practice, but it stops being overly difficult soon enough. Here's that in slow motion. Now that I've covered most about on-foot movement, I want to talk about the zoomer and Flut. The zoomer movement is extremely easy and isn't really at all harder than with 2 hands. You use the same fingers for the same buttons as you would with normal movement, so index finger for X, middle finger for square, and pinky for L1. The grip doesn't change for Flut either. As long as you're good with controlling Flut in general, you should be set for one-handed gameplay as well. During my streams, I get quite a few reoccurring questions, so I thought I'd answer them in this video once and for all. Does the hand you play with tire more compared to two-handed gameplay? I don't really notice my hand getting tired on either. Like I said earlier, the only thing I noticed at first was my pinky getting tired, but that went away after running for a while. Do you run one-handed just so you can say you have world record in Jack? I understand why you'd think that, but no, and I don't really even think it counts as one. The only reason it's in my titles is to highlight the best runs, since there's quite a few of them on my YouTube channel already. Why do you run one-handed when it's not even a category on the boards? I've always told people that they should run what they enjoy, not what the majority runs or what's on the leaderboards. I'm enjoying playing one-handed, and I've never really been someone to care about leaderboard placements. How uncomfortable is the grip on the controller? I don't consider it uncomfortable, but then again I'm very used to it. You can see for yourself by just replicating my finger positions shown earlier. What made you want to run Jack 1 with one hand? I think I first did it as some silly follower goal, and then months later I was just burned out with normal Jack runs, so I wanted a change. Then I submitted to ESA and it got in, so here we are. Does your right hand still do slight movements when using one hand due to muscle memory? This is actually a really good question. I don't personally notice it doing anything, but once again, I'm very used to one-handed gameplay at this point. You could probably look at my older runs and see if there's like any twitching on it. Now, with everything about movement covered, I'll show you some of the hardest tricks in an OLTS run with hand cam. Enjoy! I hope this video gave a good insight about what actually goes into a one-handed run and was even moderately interesting. I haven't really done a video like this before, so it was kinda cool making it. If I missed anything, or if you have any questions, feel free to post that in the comment section. Every link related to this will be in the description, including my socials if you want to follow me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to tune into my streams, and especially my run at ESA, for which the schedule is also in the description. It's rendered into your local time zone, so you don't even have to worry about that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.